Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Today's show is brought to you by uppercutchops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those gigantic and enormous tomahawk cut and cowboy cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably the best you ever have as well. Check them out at uppercutchops.com. That's uppercutchops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for uppercutchops.com. And that's Wagyu, not Wagyu. For some strange reason, people seem to call those glorious Japanese cuts of meat, they call them Wagyu. No, it's not Wagyu. It's Wagyu. Anyway, a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody also watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, and Wow Cable Television affiliates in select markets. Thanks for joining us, as well as Hotel TV and streaming on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Now, folks, if you don't know Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, check it out. It's a fun group. Post your favorite recipes, favorite restaurants, or whatnot, and have some fun with it. And I'm the administrator, so don't go spamming that page either, because we will get rid of you immediately. All right. Speaking of blowing up and whatnot, how about this? How about, in the MMA world, you have these guys that are, great bare-knuckle fighters and whatnot. And then we saw the rise and fall of Conor McGregor. And Conor was one of those guys, a very quotable guy, probably the best quote that I've heard an athlete say in, the last maybe 8 years or something like that. He said, "I'm here to apologize for absolutely nothing." Something to that effect. Anyway, it's on that used to be a soundbite on one of my old shows way back in the day in early 2017, when I was on Fox 1340 right here in Las Vegas. And I remember that soundbite. It was just one of those hilarious ones that you can listen to over and over because it's very unapologetic. But right now, Conor McGregor, and we're going to proceed this with a chorus of boos. Conor is facing new sexual assault civil lawsuit for an alleged 2023 incident in Miami. And this one is compliments of Reuters. We're going to go ahead and give them a little credit for the picture anyway that they posted. And for the actual article, guess what? It's on everybody, even Uncrowned got into it on this one. And so, yes, he is facing a new sexual assault civil lawsuit. And, of course, the Four Letter Network reported that a woman who previously accused him of sexual assault in 2023 actually filed the lawsuit yesterday, stemming from an incident at a 2023 NBA Finals game when the Heat hosted the Denver Nuggets at Miami. So, the arena staff and security are also alleged to have committed gross negligence in the suit, which claims the woman was sexually assaulted in the arena bathroom. What? Oh, yeah. That's the guy. That's so they claim. Now, an incident report was initially filed with the Miami Police Department 48 hours after the assault allegedly happened in June of 2023. The Florida State Attorney's Office ultimately declined to progress with the charges in October of 2023. Why is that? Nonetheless, The woman is described in the lawsuit as a 49-year-old Miami resident who works as a vice president at a high-level profile financial institution on Wall Street. And Connor is 36 at the time, denied the allegations when made public in 2023. In fact, his attorney had said in an emailed statement to the Four-Letter Network, quote, after a thorough investigation at the time, the state's attorney concluded that there was no case to pursue. Almost 2 years and at least 3 lawyers later, the plaintiff has a new false story. We are confident that this case, too, will be dismissed. Close quote. Now, mind you, that was from McGregor's attorney, Barbara Yanis. And medical treatment costs, compensation damages, and other relief from both the Heat and McGregor are being sought in the lawsuit, barring whatever is deemed reasonable. The woman's attorney informed the Four-Letter Network that his clients want to pursue the civil case to, quote, raise awareness and encourage others to report sexual assault, close quote. Now, also, the lawsuit filing comes shortly after McGregor was found liable in another sexual assault civil case, which stemmed from a 2018 incident back in Dublin. As a matter of fact, the attorney says, quote, my client has thought long and hard about the decision to pursue this civil case and is fearful of the effect it may have on her job on Wall Street. Nonetheless, her main goal in filing this suit is to raise awareness and encourage others to report sexual assault, close quote. So according to the lawsuit, McGregor allegedly started talking to the woman in the Heat's courtside club during the game before the woman and an acquaintance began leaving. The woman was then alleged to have been confronted by a member of McGregor's team who told the woman, quote, Connor told me to come get you, close quote. Before grabbing her by the wrist, she allegedly asked him to release her, and he responded, quote, no, Connor will kill me if I lose you, close quote. The suit alleges McGregor then grabbed the woman by the wrist and led her into the men's bathroom with her acquaintance following. So at the arena, their security and staff then allegedly refused to allow the acquaintance to follow as the alleged victim was forced into the stall with McGregor, leading to the assault, according to the lawsuit. Now, regarding the staff and security neglecting and their negligence, the lawsuit mentioned an earlier incident at the game where McGregor punched the Heat's mascot twice, sending the man in the costume to the hospital. According to all involved, the incident was a planned on-court skit. However, the suit alleged that the mascot injuries were known and, better yet, to the public. They weren't really known, or to the staff itself. How do you like that? That would be the arena staff. So Dunn alleges that McGregor received special treatment after the mascot incident, remaining in the arena and still getting served alcohol. So some say that McGregor allegedly poured himself. As a result, the suit alleges the arena center, of course, had chargeable knowledge of heightened risk of battery being carried out by McGregor. So a former 2-division UFC champion, McGregor has been absent from in-cage competition for about, well, we're going on 4 years now. And that was a loss to Dustin Poirier. He was scheduled to fight Michael Chandler at UFC 303 in June of 24, but withdrew after he suffered a broken pinky toe. I mean, look, there's a lot going on here, a lot to unpack here, but let's kind of put this in a real brief discussion. First of all, if the staff had seen things go on that should not have gone on, then the staff is liable for not pursuing. Now, if the case, the original case, was thrown out, it was not pursued by the Florida State's Attorney's Office, and then suddenly they're pursuing it again, what does that tell me? Well, it tells me that they're on a fishing expedition. and they say, okay, we're going to appease the person with the Wall Street background because, well, we don't want any bad press on Main Street or on Wall Street. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to allow them to do what they've got to do, conduct their due diligence. We're going to be there to help them in a way that we can because we don't want to promote violence or sexual assault or anything of the sort. I get all that, and I'm on board with that. But what I'm not on board with is how do you go against the double jeopardy rules here? I mean, he wasn't tried the first time, but it wasn't sufficient. How does it suddenly become sufficient? Because they have an extra couple of years or so to gather more information? Well, they should have put that together back then. Now, don't you think? Now, if they didn't have enough for a case then, why would they have enough for a case right now? I can say that with my own legal background, to me, it seems rather convenient. And then, of course, you get this other individual saying, well, hey, since somebody else filed and against this guy a few years back, whatever, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. And that is exactly, it's kind of like the Me Too thing. So look, if you've got a problem, you have to talk to somebody about it. If you have a police offense situation sitting in front of the perpetrator, well, then that should be pursued with diligence, not waited. Well, we thought long and hard about this. I don't want to hear that crap. The reality is, if there was an incident, the incident needs to be reported. If there was not enough evidence to convict somebody or the possibility of convicting, then leave it alone. You don't just find it and make it up over a particular amount of time. That's a bunch of nonsense, is my opinion. Anyway, I hope everything gets resolved. And McGregor, a great fighter. Hopefully he'll be back in the ring or back at the cage, and we'll see what happens. Come back in here in a few minutes. We've got some hockey for you. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call
714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Now, welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our radio and television affiliates. Big welcome back to everybody over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the Yankees, 49ers, and Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcoming everybody else up and down the West Coast. And, of course, throughout the heartland, all the way over to Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. And also in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM, as well as everybody listening, or better yet, watching and listening on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, WOW Cable Television affiliates in select markets, Hotel TV across the United States, as well as streaming on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Welcome back there, as well as everybody else listening in that missed the actual live show right now. If you're listening in on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, etc., thanks as well for joining. All right, shifting into hockey here. Look, we're about to see almost the unthinkable. And when I say about to, well, we're maybe not this week. I don't think Alex Ovechkin is going to get 22 goals in the next week or so. But what I do know is that he is going to break Wayne Gretzky's all-time record of 894 goals. He's going to do that. There's no question. The question is, when is he going to do it? But he's also inching a lot closer. Now, I mean, look, once it was seemingly an unbreakable record. And you look back at this and say, you know, Wayne Gretzky was on great teams, loaded with Hall of Famers, where Alex Ovechkin, not necessarily the case. One Cup finalist, one Cup winner, I should say. And Wayne Gretzky was on many Cup championship teams. Many. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it was 5. I think it was 5 with the Edmonton Oilers. But the Great 8, because he is number 8, in case you don't know, the Great 8 is within striking distance of Wayne Gretzky's all-time NHL goals record of 894, which Gretzky reached way back on March 29th of 1999, back when Prince was singing about 1999. Against the New York Islanders is when he actually did it, or who he did it against. So Ovechkin begins the season with 853 career goals, and Ovechkin, went scoreless in his last game. It was 3-0 against Anaheim, but he added his total in the previous goals with 873. Recently, getting an empty netter off a late takeaway in a 4-1 win over the Nashville Predators. The goal was his 20th this season, notching his 20th straight season with 20 goals. That's nuts. Now joining Gordie Howe as the only players to achieve that milestone in NHL history. That's nuts. In fact, we may even have a little soundbite here. And let's see if we can pick this one up. Let's see. Here we go.
Saros back off to the bench for Nashville. 6 attackers. Stamkos stretching his legs at the offensive end. Yossi corks a blast. It's blocked. Alex Ovechkin free and clear. Ovechkin to the cage. He scores. Alex Ovechkin has one more thing in common with Mr. Hockey. Another 20-goal season.
Big shot block. Times it. Gets in front of it. Gets the nice bounce. And he's off to the races. There he goes. Favorite goaltender. No goaltender. Excellent work by Alex.
I love that. Favorite goaltender, which is no goaltender. That's great. Good one by the announcer. But anyway, look, Wayne Gretzky told NHL.com earlier this season about Ovechkin's chances of breaking his record. He said, quote, "It's just a matter of time, whether it's late this year or early next year, whenever." I mean, he's a great player. He's a great goal scorer, close quote. Now, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman, of course, he receives a boo everywhere he goes. Whenever he shows up to any hockey setting, everybody boos him, so why not boo him here too? Anyway, so the commissioner said back in December that he will follow Ovechkin around when he's within 4 or 5 goals of the record, with Gretzky accompanying him. Now, Ovechkin started the season red hot with 15 goals in his first 18 games, but he did have a fractured fibula suffered on November 18th, and it caused him to miss 16 games for the Caps. And of course, the Russian machine has been durable for his entire NHL career, having missed only 75 games due to injury since breaking in way back in 2005 and 2006. So Alex will resume his chase for Gretzky's record, his next game against the Ottawa Senators. And of course, everybody's going to be tracking it. In case you're wondering about the top 10 goal scorers, starting at number 10 was Steve Yzerman with 692, the great Mark Messier, 694, the great Mike Gartner at 708, the timeless Phil Esposito, 717, the great Marcel Dion at 731, Brett Hull at 741, the ultimate cherry picker, the great Jaromir Jagr, the ageless wonder at 766, Gordie Howe, Mr. Hockey at 801, Alex Ovechkin 873, and first is 894 with Wayne Gretzky, and that record absolutely will fall. And look, if you look at that remaining schedule, you'll say, all right, who could he really pile him up against? Look, he's got bad goaltending to face, which is great news for him. He's got some easy games here coming up. Ottawa, Pittsburgh has questionable goaltending. I would say that, well, Edmonton certainly has questionable goaltending. Vancouver does. Calgary does. Ottawa again. It'll be a tough one with Winnipeg, Florida, Philadelphia. Utah, he could score against. Pittsburgh, again, he could score. Edmonton, he could certainly score against. Calgary's never really had great goaltending since Mike Vernon back in a long, long time ago, Stanley Cup champion team. And then he gets into the tougher part of the schedule with St. Louis and Tampa and the Rangers. And honestly, he doesn't get really a break for easy goaltending until they play Anaheim again. But Anaheim's been playing pretty well. And then the schedule lightens up I would say it lightens up a little bit in April when he has to play Chicago, the Isles. Carolina's not great goaltending. Neither is Columbus. He got back-to-back with Columbus, the Isles, and Pittsburgh to finish out the season. So it's feasible that out of all of these games, he needs, 22 more goals, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 22 more goals. And if you look at the amount of goals that he needs, well, the reality is he needs 21 more goals. You look at these remaining schedule games, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hell, you've got probably at least 20 games that he can score 1 or more goals in. So it's going to happen this year. There's no question. And if there's an empty net opportunity, he will certainly be on the ice. But, we like the fact of what Alex does, and he's just one of those players that deserves an enormous round of applause. And honestly, the reason he really does deserve that round of applause is because he is really a two-way player. A player that started in the league before him, probably about 13 years before him, 15 years before him, was the great Jeremy Roenick with the Chicago Blackhawks. And Jeremy was a great two-way player, a gritty player. Alex Ovechkin is a gritty, grindy player. And he didn't play on the great teams like Mark Messier, who was a similar kind of player. But the reality is, you look at Alex Ovechkin's teams that he's played on, they haven't been great. They've been good, but they haven't been great. And part of it, they've been good, is because he's been there with a cast of reasonably good players, not the great ones like, of course, Gretzky and Messier. You look back at these goal scorers, these top goal scorers, and you say, well, Yzerman was on a very good team. Of course, we mentioned Messier and Mike Gartner, of course, with the New York Rangers. Esposito, good team. Marcel Dion was not on a very good team with the LA Kings. Brett Hull, the ultimate cherry picker, he was on some mediocre teams. And overall, not so bad. But Jaromir Jagr, of course, with Super Mario, he was on some really good teams. Gordie Howe, of course, with Detroit, good teams. And we know that Gretzky was on all those championship teams with the Oil. So look, this guy has done something that other players just haven't done. And when you think about great players, you say, well, what about today besides that guy, besides Alex Ovechkin? Well, Connor McDavid is that guy, and there's been grumblings about him wanting to get out of Chicago. This is his second year because they haven't put it together. But look, The Blackhawks' problem, yes, they are the worst team in the league, but they have a defensive issue. And they certainly aren't going to be buyers at the 2025 trade deadline, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't make a trade. Now, no pending UFAs are coming to Chicago. That's for damn sure this season, of course, as they aren't even going to sniff the playoffs, when the Hawks are probably the worst team in hockey right now, again. But there is a chance that they will do something to improve their long-term future. Enter the Vancouver Canucks. Some have problems within the organization, internal issues going through, in fact, that may force them to make a big move. Tension between JT Miller and Elias Pettersson. Both superstars have caused legitimate dysfunction within the organization. Vancouver's an up-and-coming team, but their guys are having some issues. In fact, when we come back from break, we're going to talk a little bit about some of these issues, because you could see the Blackhawks and the Vancouver Canucks solve a problem with one another. Now, the Blackhawks, of course, just have a problem with defense, but sometimes a great offense makes a pretty good defense. So we'll see. That actually worked for the Pittsburgh Penguins for years. But anyway, we'll see where that goes. We're going to talk about this when we come back from break here on the Sports Circus. Back here in just a few minutes, folks. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorder shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, you name it, we're there. We're all over the place. You can't get away from us. Also, make sure you check out the partners page. Lots of great partners that have been with us for quite some time. And the list is lengthy, so make sure you visit there as well. Welcome back to everybody, TV and radio. You know who you are. In the last segment, talking about Alex Ovechkin chasing Wayne Gretzky's record. He's going to break it this year. Hopefully he will. I think he will. And also the possibility of the worst team in hockey making a move to help out one of the up-and-coming teams in the league, which technically they can actually help each other, which would be the worst team being the Chicago Blackhawks, unfortunately. And one of the up-and-coming teams is the Vancouver Canucks. So there's a lot of issues with the Canucks in the locker room. There's an issue with Miller, an issue with Pettersson. And look, plenty of reports have it that the Canucks could trade one or both of those guys. And if Pettersson is really on the table, the Blackhawks may want to consider it. Look, this guy's 26 years old. This dude is a stud who would instantly come to Chicago and be one of their stars. And the positive impact that a guy like Pettersson could have on Connor Bedard can't be overstated. And for that reason alone, Kyle Davidson should consider thinking about working something out. And of course, there is the big white elephant in the room, and that is Pettersson's contract. This guy's going to make $11 million a year until 2032. So folks, that's a lot of lettuce they're going to be committing if they make a deal. But when he's at his best, he's worth every penny, was what people are saying. And when the situation makes him play well below his ceiling, that's right, well below his ceiling, there are some unhappy people in the locker room. I have to tell you, folks, sometimes people don't perform as they should. So it's hard to justify making this much money when he's really not performing. Well, Pettersson needs a change of scenery, and Chicago could be a really good location for his services. Despite his hefty contract, getting him in a trade would cost a lot. Sometimes you have to give up value to get value, right? It takes money to make money, right? One of these packages might be enough to get it done. So think about this. To the Blackhawks would go Elias Pettersson. To the Canucks, maybe Frank Nazar, Marek Vanacker, and 2025 first-round pick via Toronto. So for the Blackhawks to get a player like this, some good assets must be on the way out the door. In addition to the first-round pick in 2025, it's originally belonged to the Maple Leafs, as I said, Nazar and Vanacker could go in this package. Now, Nazar and Vanacker were recent Chicago first-round picks, and both are hopeful NHL contributors. Nazar is already in the NHL learning program. And listen, he's on his way after dominating the first half of the year with the Rockford Ice Hogs, which is basically the farm team for the Hawks. So as for Vanacker, he plays for the Brantford Bulldogs in the Ontario Hockey League, and he doesn't have the same projected ceiling as Nazar, but he could develop into a good player with the right development and the right coaching. So Vancouver has the players and staff currently equipped to develop that guy, of course, at all levels. And they have turned a lot of talent, including Pettersson, into NHL regulars. With a deal like this, they'd be helping their present and future if they must move on from Pettersson. So another one could be Pettersson to the Blackhawks and Bosseux and more, plus the first-round pick to Toronto. So the Toronto first pick goes in this package along with Moore and Bosseux. Like the first trade package, both of these players are guys drafted in the first round by the Blackhawks. But you can call them Boisveu, however you want to say it. We'll just call him Sasha. Well, the reality is Sasha is currently playing for the University of North Dakota, and as of now, he leads them in scoring and is one of the most impressive freshmen in the country. So we could be giving up some big upside if you're a Blackhawks fan. And of course, Moore is fresh off his second straight gold medal team with Team USA at the World Juniors, and he's also playing college at the University of Minnesota, where he consistently delivers good play in all three zones. So both of these guys are solid two-way players who hope to bring those abilities to the NHL someday. In the case of Moore, he has the speed needed to keep up with the top skaters in the league. Vancouver has a couple of those, as you may know. If the Canucks accept a trade like this, they would mean that they are cool with the returns for Pettersson, not impacting them at the NHL level, at least for the next year or so. And that isn't where they want to be, but you never know what the rest of the situation looks like. Another possibility could be to the Blackhawks, Pettersson, to the Canucks, Jason Dickinson, Taylor Hall, and Lev Shunov. Yeah, plus a 2025 sixth-round pick. I don't know about the sixth-round pick, but whatever. There could be a world where the Blackhawks are willing to pay a hefty price for a star like Pettersson. He does have 180 goals, 261 assists for 441 points in 443 games played. Now, think about this. Just go with those numbers alone. Look, Connor Bedard is averaging about the same on the worst team in hockey right now. So if you add another guy like him, you say, okay, well, the Hawks are going to get some point production. The problem is Pettersson's already on a good team, and that's what he's delivered. Essentially just under 1 point per game, which, look, I think it's good, but is it worth paying $11 million a year for all the way till 2032? I don't know. He's 2 career points under a point per game pace, like I had mentioned, and he has 10 goals and 19 assists for 29 points in 36 games played this season. That's not really that great, but then again, there's some discontent in the locker room. And I don't necessarily know if that's going to do it. Look, you could chop it up however you want. The Hawks, I think they're going to be players for any team that makes a little bit of sense or any deal that makes sense. But I don't necessarily believe that they're willing to pay that kind of lettuce for a guy that is playing well but not playing great, because you're asking for great back from the Blackhawks, and I'm not so sure they're willing to give up a package. Now, you look at the standings as it stands right now. Let's go to the Western Conference and take a look at where Vancouver lies. Look, they're in the middle of the pack at 19, 14, and 10 with 48 points. And in the grand scheme of things, well, Vancouver right now is on the outside looking in. They are in the 9th position, and they are, let's see, they're only 1 point out of the last possible playoff spot. And because there's a big jump to the 7th spot, which is 55 points, where Vancouver has 48 points. So right now, if the playoffs started today, Vancouver would be on the outside. Calgary would be in the number 8 spot when they have the same amount of games played at 43 that Vancouver does. Calgary and Vancouver both have played 43 games. Both teams and their goal differential are 11 under. So these are 2 highly questionable teams, and the only team that's actually, there's 2 teams that are better than they are, being Calgary and Vancouver, that are not in the playoff situation right now, and one is St. Louis, who is really only 3 points out of the last spot. Their differential is -7, and the Utah Hockey Club, which is the former Arizona Coyotes, they sit back 6 points behind with the same amount of games played. Now, St. Louis has played 2 games more, so they're not really in that better of a position. My point in all of this is that if there is going to be a trade made, St. Louis has to do something to really get themselves in position, and they could make a trade with technically the worst team, at least in the Western Conference, being the Blackhawks with only 30 points. As a matter of fact, they're the worst team in all of hockey, and that is because Buffalo has only 37 points, but they are the worst team in the East. So when you look at this whole grand scheme of things, you say, yes, the Blackhawks could use some help, but are they willing to mortgage the future so they could get a little bit better? The Blackhawks really need defense. Yeah, a scorer could help. They do have some scoring help now, but Jonathan Taves may come back to the Blackhawks, and he is said to have been skating, and there's a real possibility that good old Johnny could find his way back, which would help Connor Bedard's game dramatically, because with the grumblings that people have been talking about, that may change things if Johnny comes back, that being Jonathan Taves. If he comes back, and then maybe you add a guy like Pettersson along with those 2, now you have, look at your top line. You have Taves that could actually center a line, at least on a power play, between Pettersson and Bedard. The problem is the Blackhawks still don't have good defense. They need defense terribly. The goaltending has been adequate. Soderblom has been good enough. Mrazek they need to get rid of. But when you look at the grand scheme of things in hockey, folks, the good defense can make an average goalie look like a great goalie. That's how you've got to look at this. So, that being said, we're going to move on into baseball in the next segment. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMTV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, this segment brought to you in part by our friends over at Al's #1 Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. check them out at alsbeef.com. If you can't get over there for some great food, that's alsbeef.com, the originators of the Italian beef sandwich, founded in 1938. All right, welcome back to everybody. TV, radio, streaming, you know who you are. Going to jump into baseball here real quick. You know, a lot of people have been talking about Roki Sasaki, and they say, well, hey, who is this guy? I mean, look, he is one of those guys that people say maybe he was kind of like Shohei Ohtani as far as the pitching side goes. And Roki, you may remember, was on the World Baseball Classic Championship team. And look, there's a lot of much to do, I should say, about this guy and his free agency. And I don't know, and there's some things to know about him. And one of the most highly anticipated and unique free agencies in Major League Baseball history is nearing its conclusion in the next week or so. And Roki Sasaki, this guy's 23 years old, a right-handed pitcher whose generational talent has been revered in his native Japan since he was a teenager. Okay, so this guy's been around in the media, I should say, for quite some time. And when anybody is going to be heralded in the media like that, they say, well, they must be pretty good, or there's just a lot of hype, and we don't really know what to think. But apparently this guy is legit, and we have seen him pitch against Major League Baseball talent, of course, in the World Baseball Classic. And, of course, he soon is going to decide where he will begin his big league career. So, a process that began when his Japanese baseball team, the Chiba Lotte Marines, posted him on December 10th, has gradually unfolded over the past month or so, with the entire baseball industry eagerly awaiting his decision and the potential fallout. With his window to sign officially opening, in fact, it opened today, and extending basically for, we'll say, a couple of weeks, Sasaki has reportedly narrowed the field to 3 finalists: the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays pose a very interesting discussion, and we'll get to that in a minute. The Padres, because one of his old teammates, Yu Darvish, from the Japanese Baseball League and Japanese Baseball World Baseball Classic team, he was over there with them. But also the Dodgers because Yamamoto and, of course, Shohei Ohtani. And if you haven't been tracking each and every plot point of Sasaki's free agency along the way, don't worry. It's not too late to get caught up and prepare for the entrance to him in Major League Baseball and its universe as one of the most intriguing characters for the upcoming season. And here's everything you need to know about this guy. So first, who is he? In case you don't know, if you've been living under a rock, or you don't like baseball, or you just flat out don't know. This guy burst onto the scene as a standout prep pitcher, one who broke the record for fastball velocity by a Japanese high school arm previously held by Shohei Ohtani. Major League Baseball teams were interested in signing him directly out of high school, but Sasaki opted to enter into the Japanese Baseball League draft and start his professional career in Japan. He made an immediate impact with the Marines, being the Chiba Lotte, excelling as a rookie in 2021 and throwing a 19 strikeout perfect game as a 20-year-old in 2022. Now, after pitching for Samurai Japan in the 2023 World Baseball Classic, Sasaki achieved outstanding levels of dominance in his 3rd Japanese Baseball League season. In 91 innings across 15 starts, he struck out 135 and posted a 1.78 ERA with a 61% ground ball rate. Then he wasn't quite as good in 2024, though, in what turned out to be his final year with the Marines, but he showcased more than enough to have big league clubs enthused about the possibility of pursuing him as a free agent. Now, I wonder why his velocity dropped off. We'll get to that in a minute. Or better yet, his performance dropped off. While Sasaki's high-end velocity is nearly unrivaled among starting pitchers at any level of professional baseball, it's not the only thing that makes him different. His splitter is already regarded as one of the most devastating off-speed pitches on the planet. And his slider has made huge strides over the past year. He has almost demonstrated advanced control for a pitcher his age. I mean, really, this guy has almost achieved what 30-year-old pitchers take a lot of years to develop. All that said, Sasaki is far from a finished product, though. This guy's got to develop. Injuries, careful management of his innings have limited him to under 400 innings across his 4 seasons. Now, that's not really a lot, but you take a guy in big league baseball right now, Blake Snell. He doesn't see a lot of innings pitched either, and he is very effective. And he just signed himself a jumbo deal as well. So the point is, this guy is going to be a work in progress. He has a lot of raw talent, but we'll see. He does have some things to prove, and the biggest thing is going to be durability. I mean, what makes his free agency so unique is the big question. So had Sasaki waited till he was 25 to make the jump to big leagues, he would have been considered a traditional free agent rather than an international amateur who could sign only a minor league contract with a signing bonus attached. Now, waiting until turning 25 is what Yamamoto did. A year ago, he was posted by the Oryx Buffaloes after 7 celebrated seasons in the Japanese Baseball League, and he secured that ridiculous $325 million deal with the Dodgers, a reflection of both his immense talent and the rare opportunity to sign a player of his caliber at such a young age. But rather than pitch in the Japanese Baseball League for another 2 seasons and then seek a deal the magnitude of Yamamoto's, Sasaki is following the path previously charted by Shohei Ohtani. And of course, what do they do to Shohei Ohtani?
Show me the money!
That's why I call him Show Me the Money, Shohei Ohtani, who made a similar decision, of course, to expedite his journey back in 2017. Like Sasaki, though, Ohtani's earnings potential at the time was capped by international bonus pools. He ultimately received a $2.3 million bonus from the Angels and was under contract for 6 seasons, the first 3 at league minimum and the 3 more under arbitration. So Sasaki is expected to receive a larger bonus than Ohtani, of course. Times are different now. They just keep throwing money at the wind. I don't really understand it, but it likely won't be much bigger. Major league clubs have a designated amount they could spend each year on international players, with pools ranging from $5 million to $7 million, plus the ability to trade for more space up to closer to $10 million. So teams can opt out of this money in different ways. Some devote a large portion of their pool to 1 or 2 elite players at the top of the class, while others spread it among a wider collection of 6-figure bonuses, while the signing period does not officially open until, well, actually just opened. Most deals are agreed well in advance. So, as such, teams hoping to sign Sasaki might need to renegotiate prior deals in order to ensure that they have enough money in the pool to actually offer him something that is going to be palatable. So, it remains to be seen whether a club will use its entire pool or close to it on Sasaki, or if they need to. So Sasaki's decision to come to Major League Baseball now suggests that he isn't prioritizing getting every last dollar at this stage, but whatever the number ends up being, it's a fraction of what Sasaki's sensational ability would potentially be worth on an uncapped market, just like the Ohtani deal. Think about that one. So this guy could cash in some crazy amount of money. I mean, back to the teams that are looking at him. I mean, look, everybody looked at him. His unique situation began with a much wider range of teams available. But let's face it, 20 teams reached out to him. Only 3 stand right now. The first round of the meetings reportedly included sit-downs with the Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, Rangers, Cubs, Giants, and Padres. And of course, as signing approached, well, it's been narrowed down to just 3 teams. And honestly, when you look at these teams, you say, well, who is really the one that stands out? Look, it's pretty obvious that the Dodgers are the team that are probably going to end up with him because they already have 2 of Sasaki's former teammates. And it stands to reason that the Dodgers could end up turning Dodger blue into a very common color in Japan if Sasaki ends up signing with them as well, since they already have 2 of their heroes from back home. Yu Darvish, of course, being over with the San Diego Padres. But I think it's highly unlikely the Padres... Look, the Padres have the money, but it's going to be that there's a couple of guys that play with the Dodgers that were on his team. And plus, it was also the Dodgers that acquired Ha-Seong Kim from the San Diego Padres. And what they're doing is they're showing the Asian community that they are a melting pot of baseball. They have players from all over the world on the LA Dodgers, and they are loaded. And if you add Sasaki to this, they will have a starting rotation like no other. Because right now, the only teams that really compete with the Dodgers' starting rotation are the Seattle Mariners, who are absolutely loaded with young arms. And of course, the Philadelphia Phillies have some really good arms. So you say, well, who needs them more? Well, look, the Phillies need bullpen. There's no question. They need bullpen. The Dodgers, they do need some bullpen as well. But what are they going to do if they bring Sasaki into the fold? Let's say they bring him in, sign him a minor league deal, then they call him up. They maybe wait a month or so, call him up, bring him up in May or something like that. And then you bring him to the table. You say, well, who are we going to move to the bullpen now? Because the Dodgers have a glut of arms, and now they can actually make some kind of a financial trade and get rid of one of their position players and get some bullpen help. The problem is bullpen help has proven historically, largely, to be unreliable. And the problem is a lot of the guys that are in the bullpen, they come up as relief pitchers instead of starting pitchers that know how to work their way through trouble. And the starting pitcher should have 4 pitches instead of a bullpen pitcher has maybe 2 pitches at the most, because they're used to going for 1, 2, 3 outs. And basically that's about it. So the reality is, closer comes in, and the closer will face 1, 2, 3 batters, whatever, and that's it. But the bullpen problems lie when those closers get into trouble. They don't know how to work through adversity. They're not doing situational pitching like starting pitchers have to face during their starts in the first place. They have to pitch out. They pitch either out of the windup or out of the stretch. Some of them now just go out of the stretch, which I don't even understand that, because really what they're doing is they're losing 2 to 3 miles an hour off of their pitches just by throwing out of the stretch in the first place. And they say, well, they have to practice getting to home plate quicker just in case there's a runner on base and they want to steal because the bags are bigger now. It's really 6 inches closer in between bags. It's a whole nother discussion. But Sasaki, I believe, is going to sign with the Dodgers. And folks, if you're a baseball card collector and you missed out on the Ohtani thing, go get yourself the Roki Sasaki baseball cards. Get the Topps ones, get the Bowman ones, or even there's maybe 1 or 2 from Japan, but I would stick with Topps or Bowman's. Go with the Bowman Chrome. Those are good, or the Topps Chrome. I'm collecting them. You should collect them too, just because you're a smart investor. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you in about 23 hours on your favorite station right here. Until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.